The NFL preseason ends this weekend, and that means we're that much closer to week one of a new season. The league knocked out a couple of games last night. Caleb Williams sat out for the Bears in Kansas City. Colts' Anthony Richardson struggled at times with his accuracy in Cincy. Taking a look at the notable games this weekend, we also got a couple more tonight in Atlanta and Tampa. All right, let's bring in our NFL analyst Pete Prisco and Bryant McFadden with their biggest winner of the preseason to kick things off. And guess what? Both of you guys have selected the same player. Pete, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I picked Bo Nix, and I think he went into this preseason and there was this talk of this quarterback competition, and look, there was never really a competition. Sean Payton loves Bo Nix. If he didn't fall flat on his face, he was going to be the starting quarterback, and I think what you're seeing is he's coming off a pretty impressive preseason. He did some really good things. He threw the football well. Now, they simplified it. They made it easy on him, but for me, Bo Nix is the biggest winner of this preseason in a large part because he won the job. They haven't had a rookie start on opening day since John Elway way back in the day.
High company, Bo Nix. High company. I agree with you, Pete. Bo Nix is my winner of the preseason. Bo Nix went from being a player that went into the first round where a lot of analysts and experts were questioning the Broncos' move in selecting Bo Nix as a first-round quarterback to being in the midst of a quarterback competition and flat out winning the job. He was the better quarterback throughout all the quarterbacks that took snaps for the Denver Broncos. He was the best one, and he progressed week by week. I mean, he looked very, very comfortable in the huddle. He had a command of the offense. He made the plays that was there for him. And most importantly, Pete, he protected the football. So when you look at what he was able to do in front of all of us, really showcasing the ability to be a professional quarterback and winning the job, I mean, kudos to Bo Nix taking advantage of the opportunity. He's my biggest winner of the preseason.
So with Bo Nix, we're up to 3 rookie quarterbacks that will start week one. We know both Michael Penix and J.J. McCarthy will not be on that list. So that leaves one more that's still up for debate, and that's in New England, guys, where Gerard Mayo is saying Jacoby Brissett will start, but Drake May will play at Washington, BMAC. First of all, what do you think about the situation in New England, and who do you think starts week one?
Well, it's a little confusing, honestly, because they didn't really say this was a legit quarterback competition like it was voiced from the organization within the Broncos, right? So now seeing that Jacoby Brissett is going to start, me personally, if you really want to see what Drake May has, allow him to start. Allow him to get more than enough reps to really showcase if this is an opportunity for him to become the starting quarterback for week one. If you go back to looking at week one of the preseason, he didn't play a lot. And then he played a little more in week two, and now Jacoby Brissett is getting the start. I'm kind of confused in how they're really displaying this quarterback competition for Drake May. But I think there is a window for Drake May to potentially start. But seeing that Jacoby Brissett is getting the opportunity, I think it's Jacoby Brissett's job to lose. Me personally, and I think it's up to Jacoby to have a better showing in week 3 of the preseason than what he did or did not do in week 2. I think it's Jacoby Brissett's job to lose. If he just plays manageable football in this final week of the preseason, I think Jacoby Brissett will be the week 1 starter for the New England Patriots.
They went into this preseason thinking that there would be a competition, and all you heard early on was that Drake May looked overwhelmed and wasn't looking good. But as the preseason went along and training camp went along, you started hearing more and more good things about him, and you saw good things from him last week. Jacoby Brissett had the edge. I think he's caught up to him. The question becomes, do they pull Jacoby Brissett out of there and let Drake May start on opening day? I would. Get on with it. Oh, I mean, look, he's your future. Get to the future now. And everybody always says, and I say this all the time, oh, well, what happens if you ruin his psyche? If you ruined his psyche, you drafted the wrong guy. Then you had a bad draft. Because I don't think Drake May is that kind of guy. I think he's strong enough to handle getting battered if he does get hit, making mistakes, getting back up, and throwing again. Peyton Manning made a ton of mistakes as a rookie. It made him a better player. It'll make Drake May a better player. You know what you have in Jacoby Brissett? He's a backup quarterback. Drake May can be a star. You play him right away.
Bryce Young was last year's top overall pick, and he was underwhelming but got out there as much as he could. But the same can't be said about the preseason until now. BMAC, Dave Canales announcing yesterday that finally Bryce Young going to get some reps and throw some things out there. Carolina's starters as well. What do you think about the situation out there in Pantherland?
I'm all the way confused, guys. Pete, Tommy, I don't know what to think of this conundrum going on in Carolina with their starters. Number one, you said he was underwhelming a year ago, Tommy, and it wasn't solely all about Bryce Young. They had a lot of issues offensively that, didn't allow him to be the best that he could be, starting with the offensive line. But for Bryce Young to finally lace it up in the preseason, I'm confused. I mean, this is a guy that needs reps. He needs the experience, especially with this new offense they currently have there in Charlotte. Why would you not put Bryce Young out in the preseason play from start to finish? Especially if he's healthy, along with everyone else that's there. The new pieces they brought in, Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette. Look at some of the new additions on the offensive line. You're trying to establish chemistry and rhythm. It's almost like, well, Bryce Young, you were outstanding a year ago. We don't need to see anything from you. If Pat Mahomes is playing in week 1 and week 2 of the preseason, if you look at some of the other starting quarterbacks that have been more productive than Bryce Young, why wouldn't you not have him out there? I'm so confused, but I'm just happy that we will get a chance to see Bryce Young and the rest of the Carolina Panthers starters in the preseason, because I really thought they was just going to hold them until week 1 to reveal their new explosive offense.
Yeah, this one made no sense to me. Nothing at all. I mean, it's not like he's a star quarterback. They have to find out what he is. And B-Mac, you mentioned it, the new offense. It's a Dave Canales offense. He's got to get comfortable with it and get integrated into the offense. What can work, what can't work. And I know it's only the preseason and everybody plays vanilla on that side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball. But the reality is he's got to understand what he has in those new wide receivers. He's got to understand what it's like to work behind the new offensive line. They had some injuries, so maybe there was some concern about that, but this guy needs to play. They need to figure out if he's the long-term answer. After 1 year, the answer is a resounding no. And so the more he plays to try and quell that, that hype that people thinking he's a bust, and I don't think he's a bust yet, but he's got to prove to people he's not. And the more you play, the more you can prove it.
Guys, we have time for one more topic. Our producers tasked you with finding a notable player in danger of getting cut. And Pete, I'll start with you. You're headed to Philly.
Yeah, James Bradbury, and BMAC loves his cornerbacks, but I'm going with a cornerback slash safety because they moved him inside the safety, and he's played there a lot in the preseason. But I just think that this is a veteran who didn't play very well at corner last year. I know you could fit him in there if in an emergency. Now, they've had a few injuries at the safety position. That might make him hang on for a little bit, but I think ultimately in the end, I think James Bradbury, a veteran cornerback, is going to be cut by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I'll go to the opposite side of the football field offensively with Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney, former first-round selection. He's been in Kansas City now for a few seasons. Really hasn't cemented himself in the offense. He's been dealing with injuries. He's been dealing with drops. Super talented, but we just haven't seen that talent progress to be a consistent pass catcher with Kansas City. You look at the game last night, Pete, he played almost the entire ball game. And Pete, you know about this, covering the NFL as long as you've covered the NFL. When you have a veteran player playing almost the entire final preseason game, that's never a good sign because they're still trying to figure things out and see what you could do within their regime, within their offense. So we don't know. I'm just, speculating, but I think Kadarius Toney could be a potential veteran player that could be cut once the final cuts is revealed.
One more weekend of the preseason, then we get the football for real. Our thanks to Bryant McFadden and Pete Prisco. Gents, certainly appreciate it. All leads road to September 8th on CBS and Paramount+. Notable weekend games that we have: Arizona at Buffalo, Jacksonville at Miami, and Vegas at the Chargers.